Shalom, friends. Today we come to the third of the great discourses of Jesus in chapter 13, called as the Sermon in Parables. This chapter 13 is dense with 7 parables, all related to the kingdom of heaven. And this number 7 is not just arbitrary or just coincidence. And looking at the taste of Matthew fold numbers, and number 7 stands for completeness. The 7 parables are the parable of the sower, the parable of the weeds, the mustard seed, the leaven, the treasure of great value, pearl of a great price, and finally the parable of the dragonet. Parable is actually a technique coming from the Greek word parabole, a use of a technique placing things side by side for the sake of a comparison. Jesus used realistic images from the ordinary life of men and women so that they would understand this ordinary reality of life, and they are able to find a meaning beyond these natural realities. So these parables are meant to challenge and not to entertain. Let us place ourselves in the context. Chapter 11 and 12 dealt with the theme of the rejection of Jesus by the religious leaders and by his own people. So Jesus is trying to tell the importance of the kingdom of heaven, which to the naked eye it is insignificant. But beyond this insignificant reality, there is a greater reality. So the rejection of Jesus is due to the humble and inglorious appearance of Jesus. Jesus comes from Nazareth, an anonymous place, born of ordinary parents, surrounded by not so well reputed people like the publicans, fishermen, women, harlots, sinners, while the people of Israel expected a glorious Messiah who would be like King David. So in this context, Jesus gives us 7 parables in Matthew's Gospel. First is the parable of the sower. We can also call it as the parable of 4 soils. Jesus takes us to the Palestinian farm situation, where a farmer sows the seed first and then he plows the field, which is opposite to what our farmers do today. And that explains why the seeds are thrown into different types of soils, on the rocky ground, on the thorns, on the road, and on good soil. So the parable tells us that there is a sower, Jesus, and he cannot go wrong. The seed, his own word, but the soil makes the difference. There are different types of soil. So the community that interprets this parable will know that what kind of a soil that I am. So the harvest will depend upon the type of the soil that I am. In the process of sowing, even though some seeds are lost, the sower is not to be discouraged, because greater part will produce bountiful harvest. The second parable is about the weeds and this is unique to Matthew. From verse 24, while everybody was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat. This is the darnel, which is a poisonous plant found in the wheat fields in Palestine. The farmer allowed the weeds to grow side by side because the weeds had stronger roots, and in the process of pulling them out, it would also harm the good wheat. But the farmer says, wait, we will wait till the end, when first the darnel will be cut and used as fuel. The wheat will be gathered into barn with great joy. So the message is also given by Jesus. We find the explanation in verse 36 onwards. The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one. And the enemy who sowed the seed is the devil. The harvest is the end time. The wicked, like the weeds, will be thrown into blazing fire, while the righteous, take note of the word righteous, those who do the will of the Father, they will shine like the sun. The third parable is the parable of the mustard seed, which is also connected to the fourth one, the parable of the leaven. Both of these parables will tell us about the humble beginning of the kingdom of heaven and the extraordinary growth. There's a contrast between the size of the seed. Matthew tells us the smallest of the seed, and it grows into the greatest of shrub and a tree. Botanically, Matthew may be wrong, but the message is important. The kingdom of God, kingdom of heaven, appears as very, very, very insignificant in the eyes of the world, like the mustard seed. But that is going to provide even shelter for birds. Every woman listening to me will know the significance of the parable of the leaven. A small measure of leaven can transform the whole batch of flour. And that also shows God is at work and the human eyes cannot see the whole process. The parable of the hidden treasure and the pearl of great value will also go together. Both will tell us that there is a once for all opportunity. The man finds the treasure and he covers it with soil because that field is not his. So he buys the field after selling off all the possessions he has. And the merchant who searches for the great pearl and sells all that he has, because that one pearl is of supreme value. So one pearl of supreme value, that is the kingdom of heaven, or in the case of Jesus. And finally, the case of the parable of the dragnet, again unique to Matthew. Dragnet weighed at the bottom, brought to the shore between two boats. It gathers fish of every kind. Specialists tell us that there are 24 types of fish in the Sea of Galilee. So this dragnet takes hold of all types of fishes, good and bad. And finally, they will be separated, like the good and the bad. So Jesus concludes in this chapter that the insignificance of the kingdom of God for the naked eye, but there is a glorious future for this kingdom of heaven. God bless you.